Good morning or good afternoon or good evening, wherever you are. And welcome to the Southeast Asia sub-regional launch of KICS EMAP 2.0. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Anika Harish Ganesh, and I'm the project officer for the Southeast Asia region. And I am here to give you all a quick technical introduction. So firstly, the microphones are switched off due to the room size. But please do keep your camera switched on if possible. And we are recording this event, and the recordings will be made publicly available. Please rename yourself in the participants window, your first name, last name, and the country that you're coming from. Please also introduce yourself using the chat function. In case you're facing any issues during the event, please message me privately, Anika Harish Ganesh. Please, during the session at any time, ask your questions using the chat function. And when you ask a question, make sure to include your first name, your last name, and your country. During the Q&A sessions, we'll group these questions together and address them all together. So we've newly launched our Facebook page. Please follow this at KICS EMAP Hub. All relevant news about our upcoming activities will be posted on the Facebook page. Same goes for our Twitter channel as well at KICS EMAP. Please also visit our website please visit our web page on the NORAG website, norag.org/KICS EMAP. Now I hand over the floor to the KICS EMAP Hub Director, José Luis Canellas. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Annika, and hello and warm welcome to everyone that joined the KICS EMAP launch in Southeast Asia. Today's event is organized with the objective that by the end of this session, all people that participated in it will know more about the KICS EMAP Hub and its presence in Southeast Asia, will know how to get in contact with the Hub, and we'll know what comes next in terms of Hub's activities. Before we continue with the event, it's my pleasure to give the floor to our KICS EMAP principal researcher, Gitte Steiner-Kamsi, to share her welcome to the sub-region. Gitte, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, José Luis. It is my great pleasure to welcome you on behalf of José Luis, his team, and myself to this first sub-regional launch of KICS. You know, KICS is all about strengthening the use of research evidence for policy and planning. And José Luis will tell more about it, but it is basically about surfacing, amplifying, and disseminating expertise that exists in countries that are GPE partners. So our job is to strengthen your expertise, to make it visible, to make it heard, and to make sure it is really used policy expertise, education research in policy and planning. It is for us the fourth year that we are doing this, but the first launch that we are strengthening the sub-region. So welcome everybody on behalf of the KICS initiative. The floor is to you, to José Luis, the director of the KICS EMAP.
Thank you so much, Gitte. And so we'll follow now with the core part of our session today. Our event today will be interactive. We'll have a presentation, but with several moments for discussion, for Q&A, for comments, for discussion. We'll have an opportunity to get to know the EMAP national team representatives from the countries that are in this region, and we'll also talk about the next activities to come. Our knowledge lead for Southeast Asia is Amy Crompton, and the project officer is Anika Harish Ganesh, that you met before in the technical introduction. They will be guiding us through this presentation. And then you also have the chance during the presentation to hear from our education policy evaluation and learning leads, Marina de Forte, and as I said, our coordinators from the specific countries. So now let's go to the core of our session today. I hand over to Amy to guide us through the presentation. Amy?
Hello, everybody. Welcome. My name is Amy Crompton. I think a lot of you already know me, and we've worked together on different activities. And for some of you, you're new, and so welcome. I want to give a warm welcome to those those country representatives who are from our new countries in the sub-region, from Indonesia and Philippines. And thank you for joining. We're looking forward to launching this phase of KICS with you in the sub-region. I think we can move to the next slide. Today, we'll go through an overview of just the KICS program, specifically geared to just recapping the purpose of the program, the hub, the research, how it all links together. Then we'll focus in on the specific sub-region of Southeast Asia, and having a quick overview of each of the countries, national coordinators, steering committees, and activities in those countries. And then we'll look ahead to the baseline results and how that has informed the schedule of activities in the upcoming year, and then talk about next steps. And just to recap, I'm Amy Crompton, the knowledge lead, who works with Annika, who you just met at the beginning of the session. And we are sort of your point person. We're the liaisons between the national teams, the key stakeholders, including the GPE country team leads. And we work to promote alignment of the KICS work with each country's demand-driven needs, to work together to facilitate knowledge exchange, build connections, to inform policy decisions at the national levels. And we also work, across the subregions in the hub. We are a hub, very big hub of many countries and growing. So thanks for joining, and I'll pass it back over to Jose Luis to get us started with the overview of the KICS program and hub. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Amy. So in terms of overview, we are looking at how KICS has arrived to all of us here. So first, let's talk about the KICS program. So we are now talking about the KICS map, but let's have a step back and look at KICS program that was created in 2019. KICS is a program that is created by GPE, Global Partnership for Education, and IDRC, the International Development Research Center in Canada, as a response to a demand from GPE partner countries to connect expertise, innovation, and knowledge with the objective of strengthening education systems. So KICS program as an overall is bringing together 88 GPE partner countries, facilitating knowledge sharing, evidence building. KICS, in a way, if you want to simplify it, KICS brings opportunities to generate knowledge, to mobilize knowledge, and also to strengthen the capacity of national actors to generate knowledge and to use knowledge for their own education systems. A very critical point is that KICS is shaped by the demands of national actors, of the national education systems. So a first point in all of our work is first to listen to the demands of the different countries. So now let's move to the next slide that will talk to us about the two key components of KICS program. So KICS has two big components. The first one that you can see on the left slide is the applied research projects. KICS funds applied research throughout our GPE partner countries in the 4 sub-regions that KICS program is working. So far, we have had 41 research grants that are covering 53 countries. So the applied research is directly supervised by IDRC, the International Development Research Center in Canada. And then the second component of KICS is a component that deals with knowledge exchange and mobilization. And in here we have 4 regional hubs, 2 regional hubs in Africa, 1 regional hub in Latin America, and our regional hub that covers the EMAP region. And EMAP is short for Europe, M for Middle East and North Africa, Asia, and Pacific. So the 4 regional hubs in total, they are covering over 70 countries, and there are national teams in all of those countries. If we combine the results of both the applied research and the regional hubs, we have seen that KICS has contributed for 46 policy uptakes in over 3 years, meaning that through knowledge that KICS has helped to create or helped to mobilize, it has influence in one way or the other the policy processes in 46 different instances. So if you connect now, if you know now for the next slides. So now looking at one of the components, the KICS applied research. So KICS applied research projects focus on core education system priorities that arise from the demands that GP partner countries have identified, and also focus on scaling of the impact of education innovations. This means things that are working well in a specific context. The research is looking how that specific innovation is working well and what can be learned and extracted to other contexts as well. So the priority teams that KICS Applied Research focus on are these 4 priority teams, again, identified through demand from our GP partner countries. One of the priorities, quality and use of data. A second one is gender equality, equity, and inclusion. And 2 other priorities, one is on early childhood education, another one on teacher professional development. On these 2 last priorities of early childhood and teacher professional development, that we will have in the next weeks new open calls for proposals for research grants on these 2 topics. IDRC will launch these calls very soon. And as always, priority will be given to researchers from GPE partner countries. So if you go now for the next slide. So we have here a short overview of the current global grantees and regional grantees in Southeast Asia. We have there some MENA, but that's a glitch. We are talking about Southeast Asia. So we have global grantees. What does it mean to have a global grantee? It means that the research is spread through different regions. So there is one specific project that we see here, Data Must Speak. The team is on data systems. The research is currently happening in LPDR and Nepal, but also covering countries in other regions like Ethiopia, Zambia, etc. We have also a research happening on teacher professional development that is covering Bhutan, one of the countries in our sub-region. Another research is on early childhood care on Cambodia and LPDR. Nepal is benefiting for research on learning assessments. Then if you look at the regional grantees, so research that is only happening and affecting countries within the same region. So we have a research on the team of out of school that is covering Bhutan and Nepal. We have a research covering gender equality, social inclusion, covering Bhutan, Nepal, Vietnam, and Timor-Leste. Another research here led by Villa College on teacher professional development that is covering Nepal from this region. Two other research projects, one on GIZ, gender equality and social inclusion, and one on data systems that are benefiting Nepal. So this is just a brief overview. We'll give you the link in the chat to the GPKICS website where you can have more information about each one of these projects. So now if we go to the next slide. So now here, let's give a step back. So again, KICS is a GPE mechanism, and it's a GPE mechanism that is complementing and supporting GPE's work at country level through the angle that KICS is targeting. And this angle is making sure that we are providing opportunities for South-to-South learning. So GPE partner countries have opportunities for peer learning and exchange. We are providing opportunities to have locally produced research on specific priority areas that the countries have identified. We are also supporting further work on gender equality, equity, and inclusion. And we are facilitating policy uptake, the use of evidence for national policy processes. If we go now to the next slides, we'll look at the hub. So in terms of then we look at the program, we look at the 2 components of the program, KICS Research and the regional hubs. We talked about KICS Research, and now we are looking at our regional hub of our region. This is the KICS EMAP hub. The KICS EMAP hub is hosted by NORAG, based in Geneva. And the hub has been working for 3 years. And we started to work in 2020. For the first 3 years, our naming was EAP, Europe Asia Pacific with the growth of our hub and the growth of our hub within the Middle East and North Africa region, we have made a change to our naming so that we are now KICS EMAP Hub. So from 23 to 27 will be the KICS EMAP Hub. So if you now move to the other next slides. So the EMAP region, as we were saying at the beginning, in this second phase of our work, we have decided to work through sub-regions to have a more focused, more in-depth and more targeted support to the countries. We have 4 sub-regions: Europe and Central Asia, South Asia, Middle East and North Africa, Southeast Asia, and the Pacific. As always, we have our 2 key objectives of surfacing and amplifying national expertise and knowledge for policy and planning. We want to work with expertise and with knowledge that already exists in your countries. And we are facilitating demand-driven peer learning and exchange for that purpose. So overall, we have 35 countries in the EMAP region. So now the next slide, I think we're going to talk about the vision and the objectives. So our vision, as we were saying, everything that we do, our contributions are to make sure that we are supporting actors in the Ministry of Education, in a local education group, to make use of research evidence for their own policy and planning processes. And how we are doing that? We are providing opportunities for, in number 1, you have here, quick and targeted policy research pieces. We also are providing opportunities in number 2 for learning and exchange on education research evidence. And also number 3, we are strengthening existing capacity to use data and to use research evidence for policy and planning. Now, if we move to the next slides. So in terms of results, we are measuring for the 35 countries, we are measuring our contribution. We know that we are not changing the landscape, the education landscape for the countries. We are making small contributions that are complementing the efforts that the ministry, that the local education group, and that GPE is undertaking in each country. So what kind of results do we expect from countries? Through the participation in our hub activities, we expect that participants can acquire new knowledge and skills that are relevant for the education system. This is the first box on the right. Then if you look through these new knowledge and skills, we also want to make sure that we are providing opportunities for participants in our activities to identify policies and practices that can be useful for their own education system. We are also, by connecting actors in governments, in academia, in civil society, in international development partners, all the different stakeholder groups in the LAC, we are building opportunities for new and stronger relationships within the same country and across countries as well. Another result we are looking to achieve is to inform education policy planning and practice. And the final objective, the one that you see on the bottom, is that we would like to contribute to education policies and practices that have been informed through work that the hub has contributed to. Okay, and then next slide. So now we have a moment for questions and answers on this last section, and then we'll proceed with the specifics on the sub-region. I don't know, Marina, here, if you can help with the checking.
Sure. Absolutely. So in the meantime, we have received 2 questions about the research projects, the KICS research projects. One of them is asking what levels of education are covered in the KICS research. And there is another one from Bhutan asking when is the submission date for the research proposals you're mentioning. So if you can address those 2, that would be helpful. So and I invite other participants in the meeting. If you have any questions, please include them in the chat and we'll be able to address them now.
Yes, Marina, I heard the first question, then you need to repeat the second, because I saw that Sangai Jamso, who is from IDRC office in New Delhi, he has replied to the question on which levels of education are covered with KICS research. Okay. And for KICS grants projects, it's from preschool to secondary school, high school, including teacher training that sometimes happens at the higher education level. So I think that's well addressed. The second question, if you can...
The second question is in the submission dates. When is the deadline for submitting research proposals for KICS?
Yes. The call is not publicly available yet. The call will be launched by IDRC in the next weeks. I believe the call, usually the deadline, the calls are open for 1 month, 1.5 months, up to 2 months. I don't know if Sangai then, if he would like to come in to have more information, but I know the information will be publicly available. We'll also commit to share with everyone that is here in the room today the links to the call documents, that you can have full information of when the call is starting and when it's going to be closing as well.
I don't know if Sangai wants to come in, but in the meantime, we received one more question on whether self-employed consultants can join the research projects.
I believe so. We'll need to check specifically the eligibility criteria. I believe there is no eligibility criteria that prevents self-employed consultants to join a consortium that applies for the research grants. But again, the full details on the next calls will be launched by IDRC, then we will share with all the participants.
Great. I see that Sangai is responding to some of the specific questions in the chat, so I suggest that we move forward to the next section.
Okay. Thank you, Marina. Thank you, everyone. So I hand over to Amy.
Hi again, everybody. Coming up, we're gonna dig in and talk about the specific sub-region and hear a little bit about what things are happening and who's involved. So we can look at the next slide, please. All right, here is a great picture of our whole team that was taken at the annual retreat earlier this year. You'll be able to see not just from this sub-region, but the other 2 sub-regions, the knowledge leads, coordinators, our wider team member at the hub, and you can see our representatives from Laos, Vietnam, Timor-Leste, Bhutan, don't want to miss anybody, Nepal, and Cambodia. So this picture will be much bigger and as we grow in the coming year or so. Okay, thanks. Next slide. Okay, so for the KICS eMAP hub in Southeast Asia, there's myself, Amy Crompton, supported by Annika Harish Ganesh, and these are the countries that we're covering in the sub-region: Bhutan, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, PDR, Nepal, Philippines, Timor-Leste, and Vietnam. And our national teams are structured so that the teams shape the KICS activities, that they make sure that the national priorities are in line with the activities in the hub, mobilize participants for those activities, and then overall promote exchange, learning, and uptake at the national level. So in the middle here, it's supported by connections and conversations with the Ministry of Education, the local education group, and the GPE focal point, who straddles sort of many roles here. And our team is made up of 6 members, at least, depending on specific contextual needs. 3 representatives from the government, 3 from the LEG, so including non-governmental civil society. In this phase, Education Out Loud, where that is applicable. Collaborating and working closely with the national coordinator, who is the main point person between the country team and our hub, and me and Annika primarily. And the coordinator mobilizes and supports participants for the different activities from all the different factions in education sector in that country. And for our hub, we'll continue to strengthen the infrastructure composed of these members. And you can also learn more about the specific teams in the countries on our website. So just to talk a little bit more about what the roles are of the specific teams, the coordinators coordinating the activities at the country level, mobilizing the participants, working closely with the MOE and the GP country support with the LEG, and connecting the research projects, collaborating, identifying opportunities for dialogue and uptake regarding policy. The steering committee is collaborating closely with the coordinator, advising on it as needed, overseeing some of the activities, and really working to strengthen the relationship between the Ministry of Education, the local education group, and the activities, stating recommendations when needed. Next slide, please. And here you can see the countries at the connections at the country level through this great visual to see on the right. There's our hub. Annika and I, with the coordinator, working together with the steering committee to mobilize activities with the hub in collaboration with the GPE country team leads, focal point, and as part of the LEG. So we're all working in alignment to look at the demand-driven needs and priorities at the national level. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so here's a great overview of all the countries, their flags, and the status of the teams in those countries. So it's wonderful. We see a lot of greens, which means that there are a lot of established structures in the sub-region. You can see not yet, we're still working in Indonesia and Philippines, the countries that are recently joined the sub-region, and then the steering committees who are in progress. You'll note that there's two coordinators who are interim, so they're working very closely and diligently to set up a permanent structure in Timor-Leste and Vietnam. Next slide. Okay. So at this point, we'd like to hand it over to the country representatives and or the coordinators to introduce themselves, the steering committees, if applicable, and to just talk a little bit about their views and the progress and the impact of KICS activities in their respective countries in just a couple of minutes. So first, we have Bhutan. And today, Bhutan will be introduced by Kinley Sedan, who is one of our very active country representatives. Mr. Dochu, unfortunately, is traveling and with limited internet access. So Kinley has graciously agreed to introduce Bhutan to the new countries and to the existing countries on behalf of Mr. Dochu. Thank you, Kinley.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kinley Sedan, and I'm the country representative from Bhutan, and Dochi from Minister of Education as the national coordinator, KICS national coordinator. And I think Tashil Hamo, I think she's present today and attending this session. Maybe I can see that she's also in the steering committee. Maybe she can talk about how schools and Ministry of Education benefited from KICS Hub activities. But to me, like, I got the opportunity to attend KICS retreat this January. And then I also got the opportunity to participate in several webinars which were organized by the KICS Hub. And then I also got the opportunity to participate in 2 learning cycles. The first learning cycle, I think the learning cycle 3rd was on 21st century skills. And I also got the opportunity to attend the 5th learning cycle, which was on professional development. And if I talk a little bit about my experience, I think I found the KICS retreat, which I attended in January, very overwhelming. We could discuss about like what were some of the activities that were organized by KICS during the retreat, and then what have worked and what have not worked. And then personally to me, like, I found all the activities that were organized by the hub very enriching and then insightful. And during the retreat, I could also, network with other countries and then learn about what is happening in their country in terms of education. And then I could also use these ideas back in my country and in my teaching, learning, and process as case examples. And then then we could, through the retreat, we could also create a Telegram group. And then whenever I required assistance and then guidance from the other countries, I could easily, connect to them through this Telegram. And then in terms of learning cycle 3 on 21st century skills, this has like immensely, contributed to my personal and professional growth. And in terms of, professional growth, I could, devise instructional activities and assessment practices, which could, foster critical thinking, such as creativity, collaboration, then 21st century skills such as critical thinking, creative thinking, and then collaborative thinking. I could also use the ideas and insights gained from this learning cycle in the review and development of school curriculum. Especially, I found the insights on creating heat map, and then creating, auditing very useful. And I could use these ideas to, review the existing models, because we also do this as an activity in one of the models that we offer here at my college. And then with regard to the 5th learning cycle, which was on professional development, I think this learning cycle, it created awareness on educational aspects such as quality, efficiency, inclusivity, equality, and then I could my conceptual understanding on these educational aspects were enhanced. And then I also realized how important it is for me to translate this into the classroom practices. So this is something that I gained from the learning cycle 5. And then currently, I think we also have 2 big supported projects going on here at the college. One on connected learning for STEM, and then another on gender inclusive pedagogy. And then we interact with people who are involved in these projects a lot. And then they have told me that they've benefited a lot from these activities. For example, the coordinator for connected learning that this has transformed their understanding on inclusivity, and then how to create pedagogies that will consider aspects of technology as well. And then the project on gender inclusive pedagogy reported that they were able to create gender inclusive pedagogy in schools. Benefited a lot, and then schools were also able to reform school level policies, and then the teachers have also reported that the students' participation has really increased because of gender inclusive pedagogy. So this is all from my side. And then maybe if I think I can see Tashilham, who is present here, and then maybe she could talk about how the ministry and schools has benefited from this CAKES activities.
Thanks so much, Kinley. Thank you, Kinley. Thanks for providing such a comprehensive summary of the activities and how they have impacted the education landscape in Bhutan. I think it's been really helpful to link back to the CAKES research projects, the activities that we facilitate in the hub. And I think Veronica also put a put a link in the chat for the different activities that we offer here in the hub or that have happened. So if you're new, please do take a look at those to learn more about what these learning cycles are that Kinley mentioned, if you're not familiar. And you can also find out an array of case studies specifically about your country or other countries in the subregion in the hub at large. Wonderful. I think we can move along to our next country, which is Cambodia. I actually don't see that Sivuta, our coordinator, is here, although he did mention that he would be joining a little bit late. So perhaps we can just move along to the next one and come back to Cambodia at the end when he joins. Okay, so our next country is Indonesia, and I'm pleased to welcome Nisa Felicia, Executive Director for the Center for Education and Policy Studies, which is one of the GPE coordinating agencies, and she has been working with us since Indonesia joined the hub to set up a structure, a national steering committee in Indonesia. And I would love for her to introduce herself to the rest of you and the brand new, as of yesterday, steering committee. So Nisa, over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Emmy. And first of all, I'm sorry, I'm in a train station right now, so I probably doesn't look very well. Thank you so much. This is just like you said, Emmy. Yesterday, finally, Indonesia, the two coordinating agencies of the local education group, which in Indonesia, the name is Mitra Pendidikan Indonesia, or MPI, the Indonesian Education Partners, already decided 5 members for the steering committee just yesterday. So we are very new in this KICS EMAP hub. So I'm so happy to learn from other countries how they make use of this network and also the services available through this network. If I may, I would like to introduce 5 steering committee members that has already elected yesterday. One is, I think he's here. There's Santoso. He's the executive director of Article 33 Indonesia. It's an NGO in the field of public policy, research, and advocacy. And we also have Heni Kurniasi from the Institute Secretary and Senior Researchers of Semeru. It's a very prominent research institute in Indonesia. And then we also have Steve Matakupan, the Deputy Director of the Pusat Studi Pendidikan dan Kebijakan, the organization where I also work in. And I don't know, I hope we also have Dr. Ivan Navani, the members of Ma'arif Nahdlatul Ulama, and also Francisca Nuraini Krishna. She's a researcher from the Ministry of Education, Culture, Research, and Technology. I'm afraid we don't have so many things to share with you at this moment because we are very new in terms of members of KICS as well as the member of GPE. Actually, the partnership has just started. We are in the phase 1 of the system capacity grant. So now we are developing compact, and I believe that moving forward, we're going to be very beneficial from this EMAP, the KICS EMAP. I think that's all. Emmy, do you want
to share? That sounds great. That's perfect. Thank you so much. We appreciate you joining from the train station as well. That's amazing. And thank you for introducing the steering committee members, and welcome to those who are here. We look forward to meeting with you after this launch, and if there's a 5th member that joins as well, and hearing about how we can network and have you join all of the activities that are ongoing. We're looking forward to this conversation. So thanks. Okay, so our next up is our team from Lao PDR. And I will hand it over. I think, Balo, you will be speaking on behalf of the Lao team. So I will without further ado, I'll hand it to you.
Hello. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, wonderful.
Okay. Thank you so much, Amy. First of all, I would like to say thank you on giving me a chance to introduce myself. Yeah, a Lao National KIC coordinator. It's not different from colleague from Indonesia because Lao has just very new for the GPE KIC because no actual activity has been conducted in Laos as I know, but we just formed the team, steering committee, and also coordinators, which has two, myself and Mr. Pisistai. But previously, we just have the chance to attend the online workshop and also the meeting just only online, but the actual activity has not been conducted in Laos under the GPE KIC. As if I correct, yeah, since the steering committee and also coordinator have been sitting the team, yes. So we, for myself and the team, I am eager to learn and happy to learn and share the experience from just my work, my institute or my place workplace. So for the Lao team has just very short introduction for myself. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Balo. We did, I think, have a team from before the national team was established, which was just this last August. In our last learning cycle, we did have participation from a team from Laos. So there's been some great participation from the country, and we look forward to engaging with Lao more as a new structure. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Okay, we have Nepal here, and I will let Balchandra introduce the team and the activities that have taken place. I think you'll have a lot to say.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you very much. I have been to this National KICS committee since last year. I don't mean to say that nothing happened before last year, but few things were happening, but they were sort of because of pandemic and other kind of situations here. They were not. They seemed not to be very much effective, and over the period of a year, we have been able to, first of all, we started working with the grantees and then establishing a kind of coherence in terms of their activities, what they are doing, informing each other. And that we started with coordination among KICS grantees, having meeting, having listening to them. So that's one we started. And also in the policy ecosystem, because Nepal has a 10-year plan, education plan, and then in that we try to see each grantee contributing to the process of implementation of the education plan. And we also organized conference in September, and the conference produced a host of deliberations, three keynotes, and other around 35 presentations from researchers within the project and across other researchers. And the next issue with KICS was that the people, the professionals were not mobilized in terms of the opportunities available through KICS activities. So we've been able to mobilize, and people are participating in surveys. And the last but not the least is the collaboration with ministry, because I am outside the ministry, but my friends, they are helping us to establish the collaboration. For example, helping the ministry to improvise the policy, to implement the policy, and the policy infrastructure is getting better through the KICS research and KICS input. So in the policy, we in our national team, we have Dr. Hari Prasad Lamsal. He's Joint Secretary, Ministry of Education, Science and Technology. Dr. Vishnu Khanal, he's from Tribhuvan University. He's Assistant Dean. And Dr. Lakshmi Poril, she represents Save the Children and INGOs, non-government organization. And Dr. Jivan Khadka from Nepal Open University. And Mr. Jaya Prasad Acharya, he is actually the focal person of GPE. Actually, the focal person is Hari Prasad Lamsal, but Dr. Hari Lamsal, but Mr. Jaya Acharya also works in the ministry. Likewise, we have added one more person, who is the who is the chairperson of National Campaign for Education, Mr. Ram Gaire. I hope that he is joining today as well. So this is what I have to say. Thank you very much. We look forward to working with KICS IMAP teams and also the other stakeholders. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bal. I really appreciate you sharing that, and also just actually sharing your experience of how you're working outside of the ministry and how you're working to collaborate with the ministry and to bring everyone together. I think that's a really helpful perspective. So thanks for sharing that as well. And welcome, Ram Giri, to the steering committee. We'll add you to our website soon. Okay, I think we can move to the next slide, which will be welcoming Philippines. It's still in progress structure, and I welcome you to, if you're actually from the Philippines, if you want to just say hello and introduce yourself in the chat now, we would love to hear from you, just to see what representation we have, and to get to know your names a little bit more as we move forward with adding Philippines to the subregion. So welcome you to just say a quick hello in the chat if you are from the Philippines. And then I think we can move to the next slide. Our next country is Timor-Leste, represented by our interim coordinator, Apolinario Magno. I don't know, Apolinario, if you're able to
Yes, I use my mobile. Can you hear me?
Oh, wonderful. That's terrific. Yes, we can hear
thank
you.
Finally. Well, I got problem with my Macintosh, particularly the audiovisual, that I cannot operate at the moment. It used to be good in the past, but now I have problem. I will fix it maybe next time. First, my name is Apolinario Magno. I am actually interim KIC coordinator, country coordinator of Timor-Leste. So far, things here in Timor moving slowly because of the political issue here. But anyhow, I have already proposed 5 names to we call it here. We split into 2 ministries. One is we call the basic school minister, and then the second one is a higher education minister. So actually, they both will charge for each one. I have already submitted also a letter to the higher education minister. They will approve 3 government officials, 2 from education, basic education. And then I got, before I got a little bit problem because I tried to nominate people, but because again, as experience of Nepal, I also work outside of Ministry of Education. I base at the Faculty of Education of National University of Timor-Leste. What I face, well, again, based on my experience, I used to be the Director General for Education from 2008 to 2013. But because of the changes of the government, things also changes. Now, we have already nominated one person from NGO, and then another one representing the students' parents. They have already approved, but we're waiting for the higher education one. Once we get it done, we will report to you. Secondly, at the moment, I am also the coordinator of GIP project. This is a consortium, gender inclusive pedagogy project under 5 countries, actually led by Bangladesh, Nepal, Vietnam, Timor-Leste, and Laos. We have 5 countries that the project is still going on. It's still going on, probably will be finished in 2027. So that's because of that project, I was nominated to be part of KIC team in Timor-Leste. Secondly, when we finish the nomination letter from Ministry of Education, we'll start our working. With the structure that we have at the moment. Now, I think for the time, nothing that I can report. I'm very much looking forward to working with the KIC EMAP national team, and then hopefully our structure can be finished soon so that we can start working. Thank you, and then it's great to meet you all here.
Thank you, Apollinario. We really appreciate you sharing that and giving us an update. Looking forward to engaging more with Timor-Leste in this upcoming phase. Okay, last but not least, we'll introduce our team from Vietnam. I'll hand it over to Nguyen Nguyen to say a few words.
Good evening. My name is Nguyen. I'm from Rumchiri. Currently working as the interim national coordinator for KICS in Vietnam. I'd like to also introduce Kim Anh Nguyen from the Vietnam Association for Education for All, who is actually she's the national coordinator of VEFA, and VEFA is the member of the local education group. In Vietnam, we call the education sector group. Kim Anh is a nominated member of the steering committee for the KICS in Vietnam. To give you an update of how we are doing into the progress we are having with the permanent national KICS structure, we already had a meeting with the local education group, the education sector group, ESG, and give a presentation about KICS EMAP. All the members of the ESG and the Ministry of Education and Training is very supportive of the KICS activities, and the outcome of the meeting is that instead of having a separate steering committee for KICS in Vietnam, we're going to have an embedded. We're going to have it embedded in the structure of the ESG with the members of the ESG groups and the Ministry of Education and Training. At the moment, we are finalizing the terms of reference for the ESG that includes the KICS steering committee membership, and once we have the permanent structure steering committee approved, we're gonna have a permanent nominated and permanent national coordinator. in terms of what Vietnam has been has benefited from the KICS EMAP so far. Just to give you an overview, we really appreciate the KICS activity. For the KICS activities have a very high relevance to the national priorities here in our country. We have actively participated in a number of KICS activities, including learning cycles, webinars, conferences, and also KICS podcast. We also very excited about the KICS EMAP 2.0, especially with the new support that are introduced in the second phase. That includes the rapid country customized support, and we're really looking forward to having the permanent national KICS structure so that we can maximize our participation and also maximize the benefits of the KICS activities in Vietnam. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nguyen. It's great to hear the update. I just wanted to note that just for the new countries joining and Nguyen working diligently to set up the structure and finding a way to integrate it within existing structures, this can be quite common, and really it's up to part of like the concept of the hub is that it's demand driven. It should work, based on contextual factors. And so it's great to see that you found a way to embed it so it'll complement existing efforts. So that's wonderful. I think we were going to have a representative we wanted to wait for Sivuta, but I don't see Sivuta has joined. But he recently started a new position, so I think he's quite busy moving that along and transitioning over to that position. So I think if you want to read it, Cambodia has been quite active in the hub. We've had a great experience with the steering committee and the national coordinator, and we'll be working to transition that to hopefully Sivuta will stay with us on the steering committee, but we'll be moving over to a different coordinator who will be in the Ministry of Education in Cambodia. So you can visit the Cambodia country page to see some of the case studies and activities regarding Cambodia, and surely you'll be participating with country representatives in the activities that we carry forward in this phase. Okay. And just thinking of how we work with national teams from the hub, we have quarterly meetings with the coordinators and our team. We just recently had one a few weeks ago in preparation for this launch. So we'll be looking to have another one in the next quarter. Every 6 months, we'll have semi-annually having a meeting with the wider steering committee, and then communications between us and the national coordinators as needed, as things arise, as things happen organically. Okay, great. Well, thanks so much. It was wonderful to welcome and hear from the teams as we set forth in this new phase of the KICS EMAP Hub. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so looking ahead in this presentation, we'll not quickly, but comprehensively talk about the baseline results, and then look at the schedule of activities and next steps for our subregion. Okay. Are there any questions so far before we do move on?
I think it would be nice that we address some of the questions that came in the chat in the meantime, Amy.
Yeah.
One of them is from one of the countries that were not included, which is Malaysia. So since they are in Southeast Asia, we received a question asking whether they can join KICS EMAP, if they can participate in the activities, if you could address that.
I think some of the activities that are open, like our webinars, that people from any country in the world, whoever's interested in part of our hub, can join our newsletter and participate in those activities. And as far as participating as an official GPE member country, I think that's something that is decided by GPE. I don't know if there's somebody else wants to add on to that.
Yes, just to say that exactly it's so. KICS is a GPE mechanism, and it's offered to GPE partner countries, and Malaysia is not a GPE partner country. So in short, that's it. But of course, the open access, like public events, Malaysia and any other country in the region, outside of the region, can participate and can learn, can share as well.
Great. Thank you. Maybe one more question on the eligibility part. So Helen Hill is asking in the chat whether this is a government project or if civil society organizations are also able to get involved.
Great. I think I read, Helen, I can't remember, are you based in Timor-Leste? I feel like I saw your introduction, but I can't exactly remember. But civil society organizations can get involved. In fact, we encourage all factions of an education sector to work together, and KICS is a way to mobilize research and activities to inform policy, and that definitely includes civil society organizations. And how that works in specific countries may vary, and I encourage you to get in touch with, if you haven't already, you may already be in close contact with Apolinario to discuss how that works in Timor and your ideas for that. And of course, we can work together outside of that if you have more specific questions.
Good. Thank you. Maybe we have time for one more question, and that one came from Indonesia, from Heni Kurniasi, who is one of our newest steering committee members in Indonesia, asking, in countries that already established national teams, such as Bhutan, Cambodia, Vietnam, what collaborations have been done among those countries? And if you could share a little bit about the experience of multi-country collaborations in the hub.
Sure. There have been, as you'll read more about just some of the activities we have, but we've had learning cycles, which are a very popular modality of activity in the subregion. And different teams from different countries participate in that and collaborate to share their experience and expertise on that particular topic. So, for example, Kinley was mentioning 21st Century Skills learning cycle that she's been a part of with other countries such as Vietnam. And there's a continued opportunities for learning exchange through sharing of disseminating the results and the case studies for that, and then touching base about how those activities have impacted them and how they've been able to move forward with them at the policy level. So that's one example.
Good. Thank you, Amy, for sharing that. Last but not least, we have Jason Albaro from Philippines clarifying whether there is a national team already, and if yes, who should they connect to if they want to participate in hub activities?
Okay, thanks, Jason. Welcome to the hub. I'm glad you said hello. We currently do not have a national team in Philippines. We're working to get that started. And when we have those details, we will definitely announce it on our website that there is an official team through our channels. So you can also subscribe to our newsletter, Facebook page, all of those things to kind of keep in the loop about when that team is established. And of course, you'll see my contact details at the end. If there's something specific you'd like to talk or mention to me or suggest further, I do welcome your communication.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy. I suggest that in the interest of time, we move forward with our presentation, and we'll have time for a few more questions if they're included in the chat.
Great. So I think actually the next part is you, Marina, to introduce the baseline study and the results.
Absolutely. So next slide, please. So I'm here today to share with you a little bit about our baseline study. I'm sure a lot of you in this room today participated and contributed to this exercise of really understanding the demands for the region. So our baseline study had two key objectives. One was to set a benchmark for our hub's work in the years going forward up to 2027, and also to provide that demands for us to understand better how is it that we can address the national education system priorities in the sub-region, and what are the best modalities for our work in the region as well. And there were several different aspects, including the survey. I'm gonna be sharing the results of some of them with you, and those include, for example, the priority themes for the hub's work and preferred formats for the activities. So we can go to the next slides. So the thematic priorities. Of course, we were looking at the different sub-regions we work with, but today we're looking specifically at this group of countries in this sub-region to understand what are the thematic priorities for the education systems that the hub should be addressing its work. And the three most mentioned thematic priorities were the use of technology in education, the use of data for education policies and practice, and also the scaling of innovations. These three that are highlighted in orange here, which you'll be seeing the schedule of activities, not only for the coming months, but as we go forward, we'll make sure that we are addressing such priorities for the different countries in the sub-region. Next slide, please. Then the preferred formats for hub activities in the sub-region. So you can see that we had, you see top four there, because we had a tie between partial funding for advanced trainings and workshops. So these are the formats in which respondents of the survey identified that they would like their thematic priorities to be addressed. So we have here the learning cycles, which are our professional development courses that we have been implementing the first phase of the hub, but also cross-national policy research grants. So countries that want to work together on a research have also voiced that priority, that format as a priority for them. And then, as I mentioned, the partial funding for advanced trainings to make sure that national experts can receive funding to trainings in areas that are key for the education systems, and to participate in workshops in such thematics as well. So next slide, please. Then we have here the most effective means of disseminating the findings of KICS publications. So we are also curious to hear, we have this set of KICS research that we mentioned before, but also research that is produced within the hub activities. So we were interested to learn what are the best means, what are best channels to disseminate those findings in your sub-region. And what we heard as the preferred channels for that is presentations at international conferences, policy briefs, the formats of policy briefs, and presentations also at national and regional conference. So you see that this is also reflected in our planning of activities going forward, and we'll make sure that we are taking part in such international, national activities, and also making the research findings available in a policy brief formats whenever there is demand for that. So next slide, please. In addition to understanding what are the best channels for disseminating research, we also wanted to hear from you broader suggestions on how the hub can make KICS findings reach those that are making or influencing education policies in your countries. And here, we had several different inputs, but the option that was most mentioned was to engage with national decision makers. And this is something that is key for the hub going forward, making sure that the decision makers are involved in the activities, are informed about the findings that are coming out of the research. And then you see here two other ones that followed: engaging with national civil society organizations. Amy had mentioned that recently in our session today. This is key for us. We want to make sure that civil society society is part of the steering committees, but also participating and contributing with their knowledge to the different activities that we organize. And then the third last is to organize events to disseminate. So you'll be seeing that we're also finding the different formats that are most helpful to organize such events and make sure that the findings are disseminated. And last slide on the baseline results. We were also curious to understand better what are the platforms that are most used in the sub-region to access information about education-related news and events, so we can be present in such platforms and we can make sure that the information is reaching out those that are interested in education policy discussions in your countries. So the most voted one was email. So we'll make sure that we continue. Please, if you have not yet, please subscribe to our newsletter, in which we share regularly news about the hub and developments in the countries that we are working with. But we'll make sure to continue those email communications. And you've seen here, we have almost a tie between websites, Facebook, and YouTube. The hub has recently launched its Facebook page. So we invite you all to please follow our Facebook page, because we will be posting a lot of the research findings and also the news and events that we'll be organizing soon. And same goes for our YouTube page. We'll make sure, please make sure to follow it. It's also a recent one. So we want to have it as a channel to disseminate some of the interviews that we've been doing, but also the recording of our events. And lastly, our website as well, which we are always keeping it up to date on what is next in the hub and the developments that we are seeing. And before I move forward, I would like to thank you all for contributing to that baseline results. Of course, we're talking about it now, but it will be influencing our work in the coming years, and we'll be hearing more about it as we go. Over to you, Amy.
Thanks, Marina. Okay, so maybe what we've all been waiting for is looking at what's next. What is up and coming in the activities specifically in the subregion, but also in the wider hub. So looking in this month and next, and then we'll look ahead quarterly. November, I guess one thing here is today's event is I guess in the beginning of the month is a major event for our subregion, launching this new phase within the subregion and welcoming the new countries' participation. We'll have a webinar upcoming, whose knowledge is used in education, that'll be available to the wider hub. The new calls for research on teaching and early learning. This will be launched by the IDRC KICS team. And this was mentioned earlier with the KICS Global Regional Projects earlier on in the presentation by Jose Luis. We'll have a new podcast featuring our new country, Indonesia. So you can look out for that. And then an RCCS, which is a rapid customized country support activity in Cambodia. And this is specifically has been focusing on tackling teacher shortages and surpluses in the country. And hopefully you'll be able to see the results of that and sharing of the knowledge and how it's informed policy decisions. Soon we'll be disseminating those findings in different formats. And then in December, there'll be a part 2 of a earlier workshop that took place in early August about grant writing, which was a very popular workshop. So just a follow on to that to dig deeper into tips for grant writing, as many of you are working to garner funding for the research projects that inform your policy decisions. This RCCS will be concluding in December, and then we'll be also moving on to capturing some of the findings of the Learning Cycle 5 in a video format for dissemination, focusing in on Bhutan and Vietnam in their TPD at scale, teacher professional development at scale, and looking at those case studies and capturing those voices. So you can look forward to that. Next slide, please. In Q1, thinking about the baseline and how that identified some of the themes that were overlapping priority for many different countries. We'll be looking at technology and education and having a webinar inter-country exchange on how that looks like in different countries in the subregion, launching a new RCCS, as I mentioned, Rapid Customized Country Support. So this is a new modality or new mechanism in this phase that will be directly to respond to needs that arise in a demand-driven way for knowledge generation, mobilization, exchange, and capacity strengthening. So this RCCS will be looking at 21st century skills integration in the curriculum based on a previous KICS activity. Sorry, was there a question? I think I heard. Okay, carry on. Okay. We'll have a quarterly meeting, a dissemination of all other different case studies, workshop on education finance, podcasts. We're working in the subregion to having podcasts that really are introducing and featuring different education issues from our new country teams. So in this case, will be from Lao PDR, the hub retreat, location TBD, along with a national uptake forum. So the national uptake forums is another new modality in this phase to promote and highlight the hub's global and research outputs and their contribution to the education systems of our partners as well. So in Nepal, their BAL had organized one called Like in September, and we're looking forward to having another in-person uptake forums in the coming year. And then finally, looking at another rapid customized country support somewhere in the subregion based on the demands. Okay, next slide. Okay. Okay, so in the next quarter, we'll also have a workshop on some of the priority reform areas, an uptake forum, quarterly meeting, and then looking at recruitment for the learning cycles that will be upcoming in September of 2024, one on gender equality and education, and another one is still in the planning stages. So you can look forward to those very popular activities in this subregion. Okay. Great. At this point, are there any questions or comments that we can address? You know, we're heading to the end of the launch, so we want to make sure that we can get to those questions if there are any.
I think we didn't receive any new comments or questions in the meantime, so maybe we can move to the next steps, and if there are any questions in between, we can address them at the end.
Okay,
Thank
wonderful.
you.
All right, next steps. Where to know more about it. So many of you already know this, but for those of you who are new, you can subscribe to our newsletter through this link or this QR code. You can visit our webpage. I think all these links will be in the chat as well. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and then you'll be able to keep up to date with all of the activities. Okay, next slide. The key contact points for us at the hub here, you can always email me at amy.crompton@graduateinstitute.ch or Annika Harish Ganesh, the project officer for the subregion, or a general email here. So please do feel free to reach out with any questions, comments, suggestions. Always happy to hear from everybody. Okay, next slide. And just a recap of who's who. Here are all of our national coordinators, key contact points, and interim coordinators. And just to note that the interim coordinators are those who are, you know, trying to set up a steering committee to appoint a permanent coordinator. So we're still working on those for 2 of our countries, but are making good progress. If you do want to have the specific contact points for email addresses, etc., for these particular individuals, please do let me know and I will connect you. Okay, next slide. All right, next steps per country. For all of our countries, just looking ahead, continue to promote the activities for the whole region of the KICS EMAP and the sub-region as relevant. And just noting that, you know, each of the sub-regions is working sort of on a more focused, what's relevant to this sub-region and how can we promote learning exchange here, but also connect to the wider hub and then the wider global community as well. So we'll continue for all countries to promote those type of activities. For all countries in the new phase, we'll need an MOU with the Ministry of Education, you know, formalizing our collaboration. And then for specific countries that still need to nominate the steering committees, that will be Philippines, Timor-Leste, and Vietnam. So after nominating the steering committee, we'll be able to nominate a permanent coordinator to work directly with Annika and I at the hub. And then for Indonesia, we do have a steering committee, so that process is now looking ahead to nominate the permanent coordinator. And then for Cambodia, it's working on concluding this ongoing RCCS on teacher shortages and surpluses, and you can look forward to seeing the dissemination of those, the results of that, the learnings from that across the subregion. And I think that sums it up. I thank you for joining us today. And please, if there are any other questions or comments, please do let us know. Write a question or comment in the chat, and we have a few minutes to talk about those. But you're also welcome to email us or contact us with any specific thoughts.
Sure. I also welcome any of our national teams. If you have any question, you can also request to unmute and we'll be able to give you the floor. In the meantime, I received a message that our interim coordinator from Timor-Leste, Apolinario, would like to make comments. Apolinario.
Yes, thank you very much. Well, I raised my hand, but just because I saw the chat from Helen Hill. Actually, I just want to inform that I involved in many projects with Helen Hill, particularly TLS, Timor-Leste Study Group. We also have a cooperation between Victoria University and UNTL, my university. We have a project until now, still ongoing. We also have a project under the arrangement of WAS or AAS, ASEAN, I think ASEAN, the Associations of ASEAN Study. We have a different project with her. I think in this case, probably because we here still have a holiday, very long holiday. I think almost 1 week holiday. Today is also a holiday in Timor. I just traveled to my homeland. I came back already. But I think on the 6th of November, I will set a meeting with Dr. Helen Hill to ask her assistance in order to run all this. I think with the nomination from the LEG, we will not have problem because we discussed. But with the government, that's the biggest problem because the government has 120 days, they have to reform the whole government. So they had a sort of 120 days to sort everything. That's why they are a little bit busy to provide the response to our request. But I think on the 6th of November, I'll talk to Helen Hill if Helen Hill can assist me, particular because I think she's also working with the higher education before. Maybe she has a particular link in order to persuade our government to get our letter approved. So again, I'm very happy to see her jump into the chatting. So I just want to tell that one. Thank you.
Thank you, Apolinario, for that update. And yes, we look forward to seeing more connections in the country for setting up the national teams. Yes, and we have a message from Javier Luque, GP country lead, saying that he's happy to make connections with the Ministry of Education in Timor-Leste. Thank you, Javier. That will be really helpful. So we are almost at the hour that we are supposed to finish. So I suggest we move forward to José Luis for some closing words.
Thank you, Marina. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, everyone that attended today the meeting. It was curious, this exchange between Apolinario and Ellen Hill. KICS is also made of personal connections, making sure that people have a chance to share, to learn, and this is made individual by individual. So we had in the beginning of the session set up 3 objectives that we wanted to make sure that everyone in this session will know more about KICS Hub and our Southeast Asia countries at the end of the session, that they will know more also on how to get in contact, and they will know what's coming next in terms of activities. So we will be sharing the recordings and the PowerPoints, and you will have an open avenue to contact us and reach out to us whenever it is needed. We also are sharing in the chat a link to a post-event survey where you can tell us your views about the event, what went well, what did not went so well, so that we can also learn and always improve. Before I finish, just 3 quick points. The first point is on knowledge. So everything we do is related to knowledge. We want to make use of knowledge so that they can support your education systems. And our priority angle is to surface the knowledge that already exists and the expert that already exists in your GPE partner countries. The second big point is on connections. We are working with all the stakeholder groups in each education systems, being it governments, academia, civil society, international development partners, and only by working with all of these stakeholder groups, we can make connections that are complementary, and this is the last keyword. Complementary, why? Because KICS is not changing the education landscape alone in each country. We are making small but meaningful contributions to the work that each ministry is doing with the local education group, with GPs, specific programs of support, and we are complementing, adding, and supplementing through our angle of surfacing national expertise, surfacing knowledge, and making use of knowledge for policy and planning improvements. So we thank you all for the attention today. This is the start of the Southeast Asia sub-regional work. See you all soon. Thank you so much.